Hi everyone, welcome to this session on transport here at the Sustainability in Action Summit. I'm here today with the amazing Elisabeth Munck of Rosenschöld, who is responsible for sustainability in transport at IKEA. Hi Elisabeth, thanks for joining us.
Hi Angela, nice to be here. Thank you for the invite.
First things first, Elisabeth, and I think the question everyone will ask first is, IKEA does Billy bookcases and other furniture. Why do they need someone to handle sustainable transport specifically? Why is this even a relevant topic for a company like IKEA?
Because it is a very important part of our overall sustainability ambitions, I would say. And in IKEA, we are guided by our people and planet positive strategy. And in this strategy, we have three parts. It's about healthy and sustainable living, creating a movement to enable people to live a sustainable life at home. And it's about circular and climate positive, transforming IKEA into a circular business and becoming climate positive, and then fair and equal. It is about ensuring diversity and being inclusive, etc., etc. And if we look at the total carbon footprint of IKEA, it is about 26 million tons of CO2e. Wow. And that goes from, the material that are used in the products through manufacturing, transportation, and the use at home, etc. And more than 50% of that is from the materials that we use. And about 5% comes from the transportation, and the transportation from the suppliers to the warehouses and stores. And then you can say, oh, but that's quite a small part, right? But we are a big global shipper. We do 2 million shipments a year. And as such, we have a big opportunity to influence, and also, of course, a big responsibility.
I like that. But okay, but since you're not actually a transporter, right? And I happen to know that you don't own a huge fleet for these millions of shipments. So if you then use service providers to carry out these deliveries for you, what do you guys actually do?
We don't have any own trucks or vessels or anything. We buy all of these services, right? So first of all, collaboration is key. We are completely dependent on working together with our service providers to make change happen, right? But we have a very clear direction, and it is to become zero emissions in transportation and also have 100% renewable energy usage across our supply chain. So this is super important, and our target is by 2030 to reduce the carbon footprint from every transport that we do by an average of minus 70% compared to 2017. So what we do then practically, operationally, is that we work with our decarb agenda, as we call it. It is about reduce, replace, and rethink. And where reduce is about increasing efficiencies in everything we do. It is about optimizing the network, working with fuel efficiency measures, increasing equipment utilization, fill rates, etc. And doing better, continuous improvement every day. Replace is about replacing fossil fuels with alternatives. One thing that we are focusing on a lot is that putting as much as we can on intermodal solution, using more rail, short sea, and barge, etc. And we now actually have 46% of our global flows in ton kilometers on land transportation on intermodal solutions. Wow. And we know that switching to intermodal solutions compared to a normal diesel truck, we cut the emissions by half approximately. So there's a lot to be gained there. And then, of course, in the shorter term, it's also using more biofuels, sustainable biofuels. And then rethink is about integrating innovations and new types of technologies and fuels into our supply chain. And lots of those solutions are already out there, but it's really about deploying, scaling up. And here also, we really need innovation when it comes to how we collaborate together across the value chain.
I really like that. Reduce, replace, rethink. I think that's excellent. And There's so much to unpack in that answer alone. But I'm really liking what I'm hearing with optimizing filling rate, because that seems like things that would be really good also from a cost perspective, right? Because
Absolutely.
there's usually an idea that being more sustainable means being more expensive. But what you're saying here, to me, sounds like there's actually some cost reduction in there as well.
But absolutely, working with efficiencies, there is still so much to be captured in efficiency gains across the industry in transportation and logistics. So, of course, everything we can minimize, doing less transportation, using less energy, using less fuels, of course, it has an impact on the cost picture, but also on sustainability and on our emissions. So they go hand in hand, I would say.
You're obviously doing a lot. We can clearly hear that. But if you look outside of IKEA then, because I know you're also championing these topics and advocating for more sustainable practices in the industry. So what are some of the achievements in the industry as a whole that you've seen so far?
I think right now, there's so many things happening right now, I would say. There is an understanding across the stakeholders in the industry that this topic is urgent. We need to work with it and we need to have ambitious targets, but also understanding the magnitude of what does it actually take to deliver on those targets. With this understanding, what we're seeing right now, what I'm seeing right now is that there are lots of different types of collaborations taking place and collaborations across different stakeholders across the value chain that maybe historically, traditionally have not kind of worked together. But there is this understanding that in order to drive this agenda, to make the bold steps, there is a need to work differently to try to come up with solutions to these complex challenges. So I see a lot of willingness and new types of collaborations taking place, which I think is very, very hopeful.
Are there any interesting collaborations you're a part of already or like keeping an eye on?
But absolutely, we are doing lots of different things. But I would like to mention two collaborations that we are working with. One is Cargo Owners for Zero Emission Vessels, COSEV, that we joined and signed the 2040 ambition statement in 2021. And that is that we committed to only ship our goods on zero emission ocean vessels by 2040. And this is also a way of signaling the direction and provide confidence for the stakeholders in the value chain on the direction. And then also last year during Climate Week, we also joined EV100 Plus, also saying that by 2040, we will only use zero emission heavy duty trucks in our supply chain, electric or hydrogen. Which is also sending this very strong signal. So our ambition is to have zero emissions, in our transportation value chain, in supply chain operation.
Very encouraging to hear, because obviously it is very ambitious, and I think we see this being echoed not only from the buyer side like yourself, but also from the manufacturers of vehicles and from the transport companies. So. And I do think we're seeing some very unlikely partnerships too. Like, I think we're all still in shock to see Volvo, Traton, and Daimler come together to work on charging infrastructure. But to your point, I think it's absolutely needed if we are to get to where we need to be.
Yeah.
But if we then, considering these are like 240 ambitions, but you probably have to invest already now to make them happen. But if we look at the short term versus long term, then having worked with this for many years already, what should one consider? Like, any tips to share with others?
I think it's super important what you're mentioning. It's about the time perspectives working with these topics, because the urgency of the climate crisis, we really need to focus on what can be done here and now to curb the emissions and not just look at what will be available in 5 to 10 years. So we need to work with these different time perspectives at the same time, in parallel, with the same focus and intensity. What we are doing is that short term, we're really focusing on the efficiency agenda, because there's still a lot to be captured into that one. It's also about putting as much on intermodal solutions. It's also about working with and initiating, being part of different types of collaborative issues that we believe can really move and influence the industry as such. Then if we go into the more midterm and the longer perspective, it's really to enable the electrification, to be able to scale up and deploy and scale up the electrification, and also to ensure that there will be enough renewable energy throughout the systems in the future as well.
That is so, yeah, because electrification is usually where the conversation focuses most of the time, right? We talk about electrification, and for sure that is a key component in decarbonizing transport. But would you agree then that it will not solve all our problems?
Yes, but you're absolutely right, because it's not just about switching to a new technology or to renewable energy and then we're done. There's so much more to be done. We need to do more with less. We need to focus on the whole efficiency part, and also, for example, how can we collaborate across the value chains, for example, to reduce empty mileage throughout the whole system? How can we optimize the networks and collaborate together so that all of the trucks and trains and everything is used to an optimum level? Still so much to do there.
I mean, for sure, the trucks carrying wooden pallets back and forth across Europe alone, I think, would save so much CO2. No, you're absolutely right. So the big question then, seeing that we are on a timeline, like you said, we need to think about the here and now, and like the deadline is set not by companies and not by, you know, when it's making financial sense or when we have the technology. You know, Mother Nature doesn't really care about the pace we're walking at. And so where do you think we will be around 2030? And do you think we'll be where we need to be? It's only 7 years away.
I would say we have to be where we need to be in 2030 if we are to have a fair chance to tackle the climate crisis in the world today. So the actions that we do today, that we do right now, are the ones that will determine where we will be in 2030. So I believe that the mindset we need to have is that we need all hands on deck now. And also that the mindset that it is urgent, but also that it is doable. We can do this. It's a focus and priority on these things now. And so I think that is kind of the mindset we need to have. It's now the action needs to take place that will determine tomorrow. But I also see this that it is doable. I think there are so many positive signs, so many new types of collaborations taking place that are really driving things forward. And also this about collaboration that are taking place. And I think collaboration is not about everyone agreeing to everything and holding hands moving together, but rather that to slice the elephant and that there are many different tracks going on in parallel right now. And I think there is really the need to focus on the track that you're on, but of course look what others are doing and that we're sharing, but really to trust that the whole system is moving and that it will happen, because I think that is how we can achieve what we need to do.
But I'm sensing you're quite optimistic here. At least that's what I'm taking from it.
Yes,
but
I am.
Right, that there's no silver bullet. This is a puzzle, and every piece has a role to play.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point to end. Well, we're ahead of it, but what I take from you, Elisabeth, and thank you so much, is really don't get caught up in the one solution, but efficiency to lower here and now, focus on the collaborations you need to be in, and above all, take the technology available and deploy and scale. And then if something better comes along, we'll use it when it comes.
Yes.
That's
a good summary, Angela.
Thank you. And also reduce, replace, rethink. I will carry that with me for sure. Elisabeth, great. Thank you so much, both for taking the time to talk to us today, but also for all the fantastic work you and IKEA are doing to really help decarbonize the transport sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela. Nice being here.